I don't know how many of you are familiar with how the Arcane characters are compared to their League of Legends counterpart. Maybe you don't really care, but I think it's interesting to talk about. You can find all the information about the old version of the characters through the lore released within the old description or the short stories, the voice lines, the cinematics, the comics, or whatever else they released. Because these days we have only one lore, Riot Games is committed to be consistent across everything they release, which is why they also decided to change the old descriptions of the characters who were part of Arcane. As far as I remember, whenever they confirmed that the Arcane lore is canon, they also confirmed that they want to change the lore of other characters who were not part of Arcane but were affected by the changes. For example, Camille, whose lore was heavily affected by Arcane and will have to go through some massive changes. I could go on and talk about some possible changes in her case. Camille also being part of Arcane is another idea. It's not confirmed, but it is an idea. However, this video is about Jinx, so I will talk about those changes. A manic and impulsive criminal from Zone, Jinx lives to wreak havoc without care for the consequences. With an arsenal of deadly weapons, she unleashes the loudest blasts and brightest explosions to leave a trail of mayhem and panic in her wake. Jinx despises boredom and gleefully brings her own chaotic brand of pandemonium wherever she goes. An unhinged and impulsive criminal from the Undercity, Jinx is haunted by the consequences of her past, but that doesn't stop her from bringing her own chaotic brand of pandemonium to Piltover and Zone. She uses her arsenal of do-it-yourself weapons to devastating effect, unleashing torrents of colorful explosions and gunfire, inspiring the disenfranchised to rebellion and resistance with the mayhem she leaves in her wake. So that is Jinx's new description. It is also interesting to know that the description was changed in the second half of 2024, so not a long time ago. Obviously, it is canon to the lore, and before you ask, no, the biography hasn't changed, it's still the old one. Maybe in the future they are going to change it, because as far as I know, Victor's biography is different compared to what it was in the past, so maybe they will do something similar to the other characters. When it comes to trying to understand the differences between these two characters, based on the description, it is very easy to understand which is crazier than the other. The old version, obviously the old lore of Jinx, gives us the idea that she doesn't care for the consequences of her own actions, compared to the new version where she's haunted by those consequences. I have seen a very good explanation or a very good idea for these two descriptions. I posted a TikTok about the description and the person made a comment saying, the first description is what Piltover thinks about Jinx, while the second one is what people from Zone think about her. Personally, I really like that idea. I think it's a very good one, but since they introduced the idea of alternate timelines or the multiverse, right? We can also consider everything else related to these characters, for example voice lines, cinematics or whatever for League of Legends Jinx and Arcane for, well, Arcane Jinx, and we can see that if we compare the two, League of Legends Jinx is ultra crazy compared to how we see Jinx at the end of Arcane. That's why if there is an alternate timeline or a possibility for an alternate timeline, that version of Jinx from League of Legends can still work. If there is an event which further pushes her to insanity, then it makes sense. So if Jinx in League of Legends is ultra crazy, how is Jinx at the end of Arcane? Maybe she's sane. It could be. I can definitely say that she's in a much better state, especially when you compare her to how she was in Season 1, in Season 2, even a week before. When you consider the timeline, I think it's a 1 week time skip from the moment whenever she tries to off herself up until the final battle, maybe a few days, I don't know, but there is definitely a time skip, right? There are a bunch of implied moments, the ones we have to imagine, you know guys, those are definitely the ones which helped her. She still has some problems, and maybe you're questioning yourself, why am I saying that? I'm saying that because whenever she joins the battle, you can still see some of those glitches, the Jinx glitches happening on the screen. so she's still dealing with some of her problems, right? Maybe she will never completely heal, who knows, but I think that's a story which they will continue in the future, if they want to. Yes, Jinx survived the explosion, and I would be very surprised if you didn't know that. Most of the community already does. I would also be surprised, maybe even disappointed, if in the future they went full circle with the character and she ended up being extremely crazy, right? There is only one way where I can accept Jinx ending up being extremely crazy. And I will tell it to you. If Powder from the alternate timeline decides to go to the main one, she uses Hextech, she understands everything that Echo and Heimerdinger did, she does her own version of the Z drive to go to the main timeline, right? And she ends up in Jinx's body. But because of the shimmer, she will have a very bad reaction where she will end up being crazy, right? And you can have an entire plotline of Echo trying to separate the bodies, right? That's the only way I can see them going full circle with the character and being somewhat interesting. I don't think that Powder will go from the alternate timeline, but as I said, this is the only way. I'm pretty sure in the future they will think of something even better than that, and I will agree with it. But until then, I think it's in 2040, so until 2040, this is my opinion related to how Jinx goes full circle and becomes crazy again. You're probably going to attack me in the comment section and you will say, what do you mean 2040? They are definitely going to release something in 5 years or 3 years or something like that. No, I don't think they are going to release anything related... No, I don't think they are going to release a TV series related to Jinx in the near future. I think we will have a long time to wait up until we get a TV series. But if they want to release a movie, they can do that. A movie with Echo going from his childhood through the 7-year time skip, through the events of the second season, all the way to the moment where he finds out that Jinx is alive. I can see that happening, why not? I would love for a TV series to happen as soon as 5 years, but I think they have other projects they are working on. Sure, they are exploring Noxus, Demacia, Ionia and Bilgewater, and by now many of us believe that she will end up in Bilgewater, but they still have to go through a possible Noxus show. And if you didn't know, yes, many people believe that Jinx is going to end up in Bilgewater, and I have a video about that. So you can click on that if you want to. Thanks for watching.